Meanwhile, State Attorney Aramis Ayala has filed a lawsuit against Governor Rick Scott. She is challenging the governor's authority to strip her office from handling death penalty cases. Governor Scott removed her from nearly 24 death penalty cases, including the case against the accused cop killer, Markeith Loyd. The move came last month after Ayala announced that her office would not seek the death penalty for Loyd or any other defendant in a capital murder case. Governor Scott defended his decision after the lawsuit was filed.
That bothers me. I just think every citizen deserves a state attorney that's going to fully prosecute cases. And so I want to thank Brad King for taking on the cases, but I'm going to continue to review cases and make sure that we always think about the victim.
Ayala's attorney argues that she and other state attorneys have broad discretion about whether or not they should seek capital punishment. The suit also names Brad King. That is the man who has now taken over those death penalty cases. And joining us this morning to talk more about it is attorney and former U.S. Congressman Rick Keller. So you're very well versed in these subjects. Good to see you, Rick. How are you?
Good to see you, Amy.
All right, so let's talk about this. Do you think that Aramis Ayala has a case against the governor and Brad King?
It's somewhat subjective. The law is that she does have discretion in terms of charging decisions, but the law is also, specifically 27.14 Florida statutes, says the governor has the discretion to move cases from one attorney, a state attorney, to another if he has good and sufficient cause. And so she has discretion, but so does he. And so all he needs to do to come up with a reason is to say there is good and sufficient cause. And in this case, there's a pretty good argument that there is good and sufficient cause.
Well, and here's the other thing, Rick. I mean, we know how long this stuff takes to play out. These cases have to move forward. There are a lot of them. Let's say the court doesn't come down with a decision for another year or two. I mean, seems like everything just stacks up.
Well, typically, once a suit has been filed, the defendants, in this case, State of Florida and Brad King, will have 20 days to respond, and so we'll hear from what they have to say. I can just tell you, it's a tough battle because while the prosecutor does have discretion, it's not unchecked discretion. And so when she says something like, I'm never going to do something in the future, that shows you're not thinking too much about it. Because what if the Pulse happened, next week, or what if that person survived and he was captured? You wouldn't prosecute him. So there is discretion, but it's not unchecked. It can't be used arbitrarily or capriciously.
So do you feel like, Rick, that was her biggest mistake? If you were to say there was a mistake in all of this, it was that she should have just said, I'm going to take it case by case, and in this particular case, in Markeith Loyd's case, I am not going to go forward with it?
That is absolutely what she should have done. Now, you will still have the chief of police of Orlando being furious about it. A lot of people would, saying if a cop killing case isn't enough, what is? But that's how she should handle it. She shouldn't just say, I'll never do it for any reason. It hadn't even happened yet, but I'm not going to do it. That's really not representing your client, which is the state of Florida. It's there for a reason, because the death penalty is an appropriate penalty, but second, it gives people an incentive to plead to life in prison. When you don't have that incentive, why not just have a trial?
What about precedent for this? I think I read not too long after this happened that there was maybe a case in New York where something similar to this happened.
Well, we're in uncharted waters in terms of Florida law. I can't speak to New York law, but there has never been a case and never been a statute directly on point. So it's going to be a subjective decision made by a federal judge as to his interpretation of whether the governor had good and sufficient cause to remove the state attorney.
All right, Rick Keller, always great to have your expertise. We certainly appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.